On the day Princess Liana, the woman who once disgraced my husband, was married, my refined and gentle husband, Chancellor Ethan Pei, locked himself in his study and ended his life. I forced down my grief and began sorting through his belongings. In his secret drawer, I found a stack of her portraits, dozens of them. Beneath each one, he had written the same words, "My beloved Liana." So he had loved her that deeply. When I opened my eyes again, I was no longer the grieving widow. I had returned to the very day Princess Liana first dragged him into her mansion, the day everything began. This time, I did not spend a fortune to rescue him. Instead, I smiled faintly and said, "What a handsome man, Your Highness. Congratulations on finding yourself a fine new toy." Chapter 1. Recently I acquired a new batch of toys. Tell me what you think of their looks. Princess Liana sat at the head, gorgeous and smiling at the corners of her lips. She clapped her hands. The servants hauled a cage covered in red cloth to the center of the banquet. Everyone turned, curious and eager, to the ornate cage made of golden wire. I watched, cold and expressionless. My thoughts raced. Even through the red cloth I seemed to see the man from my last life. Ethan Pei, the graceful future chancellor. Princess Liana lived in wasteful luxury. She kept many pretty-faced lovers and especially liked to collect handsome men from the streets, raising them like pets. Most men she chose were taken back to her mansion and tormented to death. As an imperial merchant, I too had been invited to her spring banquet in my last life. That night I saw Ethan at a glance, thin and austere, yet upright like a pine in frost. I liked the calm in his eyes in the face of hardship. I liked the way he kept his spine straight even in the mire. I was sure he was no pond fish. He would rise high. My family had traded for generations, yet father taught me one line since childhood. A horse may be misjudged for its thinness, a man for his poverty. So I paid 10,000 taels and begged the princess to spare him. Liana disliked it, but for that price she let Ethan go. I pulled him from the mud. He did not fail me. Very young, he ranked in the top 3 in the exams and became the youngest Zhuangyuan in 100 years. Our business grew larger thanks to his standing at court. When we were engaged, he hesitated, but his mother loved me, so he agreed. I only thought he was not ready for marriage. After years together, and after all I had done for him, I was certain he loved me. He touched me only once, on our wedding night. Ethan drank heavily. He stumbled into my arms, warm breath in my ear. That night he was passionate and fierce, whispering again and again, "Wan Wan." I answered shyly, my heart sweet beyond measure, until Princess Liana's wedding day, when he killed himself. I put his things in order. By accident, I found many portraits of Liana hidden in his study's secret compartment, and I finally understood. The Wan he called was not Lin Wan, but Liana Wan. No wonder a man who never drank had nearly drunk himself to death on our wedding night. Drunk enough, he could imagine I was Liana. Shame and rage tangled in my chest. When I opened my eyes again, I was back on the day of the spring banquet. A eunuch lifted a corner of the red cloth with a golden rod. Everyone held their breath, eyes following his hands. The scene inside the cage slowly appeared. 5 boys in thin clothes were revealed one by one. I looked at Ethan without meaning to. He leaned on the bars, expressionless. The hand at his side trembled slightly. His fringe shaded his eyes. His jawline was soft. Truly a man of polished grace, cold as moonlight. At the crowd's gasp, he slowly raised his amber eyes. His brows drew together. Before he adjusted to the light, he searched the hall for something. I frowned. In this life, Ethan looked less steady than before. He seemed to sense me and turned slowly in my direction. Before our gazes met, I looked away. "How do you all find this batch?" Liana asked lazily from the couch, lifting a fine brow. A Grand Minister's daughter rushed to flatter her. "Exquisite, Your Highness. 100 times better than those in your garden now." People talked over one another. Liana's gaze slid toward me, drinking fruit wine in silence. "What does Miss Lin think?" I lifted my cup. Before I spoke, I felt a hot stare at the edge of my vision. Ethan gripped the bars and stared at me without blinking. His movement drew everyone's attention. Liana's face chilled. "Do you know each other?" I kept my face calm, but inside I jolted. 100 guesses flashed through my mind. This behavior was far too strange. Could he also have been reborn? After a pause, I said, "No." Liana smiled broadly, but her eyes were sharp and testing. This toy seems to like you. If you like him as well, shall I give him to you? I kept my voice even. He has refined features. As a commoner, I would never take what the princess favors. Allow me to congratulate your highness on finding a new plaything. Liana narrowed her eyes and smiled, satisfied. Inside the cage, Ethan's hands clenched on the bars at my words. The force of it startled the little eunuch beside him. His thin robe shifted and showed faint whip marks and burns. White skin, red scars, a twisted, striking contrast. In my last life, I feared those scars would haunt him, so I searched for doctors and had them healed. Now, I found myself foolish. Perhaps he liked these scars of love. I looked at him again. He held himself straight, though he was weak, staring at me like a pet abandoned by its master, and at a loss. Pushing down my doubts, I glanced past him to the sharp-eyed youth behind, eyes like a wild wolf. The future general of the northern frontier, Adrian Fu. In my last life, I had heard he was untamed. Once he nearly killed Liana. She adored that feral temper and spoiled him endlessly. Later, she took him out traveling. He fell off a cliff and disappeared. Liana turned the capital upside down, but never found him. He reappeared 5 years later with great merit on the northern frontier. The old emperor made him general of the north. The old emperor was addicted to alchemy. His body failed. Clear one day, confused the next. The long-ailing Prince Rowan finally showed his ability at that moment, and Adrian became his sharpest blade. The Crown Prince and Princess Liana were siblings of the same mother. I had urged Ethan many times to stay neutral, but he ignored me and sided with the Crown Prince. After he died, I understood why. Because of Liana. Adrian and Ethan were bitter enemies at court. Liana's marriage negotiations were likely engineered by Prince Rowan's faction. Thinking of this, a small wicked impulse rose in me. I looked at Liana and pointed at Adrian. Your Highness, may I exchange 10,000 taels of gold for that young man? Ethan stared straight at me. Red cracked at the ends of his cool eyes. Veins rose on his hands as if he wanted to snap the bars. The little wolf only stared wide-eyed, that roguish face gone blank. As in my last life, Liana disliked it, but for so much gold she gave Adrian to me. For the rest of the banquet, I lost interest. I did not look at Ethan again. When it ended, my 2 attendants, both named Lucky, carried the tightly bound Adrian to my carriage. I sat straight and studied him. The princess's people had given him a mute drug and a soft bone powder so he could not resist. Even so, though weak, his eyes were fierce and hostile. Thinking he had not eaten in a long while, I took a peach pastry from the food box and held it to his lips. I held it there for a long time. He did not move, only stared at me. Just as I was about to pull back, he lunged and bit at my hand. My heart stopped for a beat. I yanked my hand away by instinct and cursed under my breath. A wolf cub indeed. I tossed the pastry back in the box, closed my eyes, and ignored him. Back at the manor, I had him untied and locked in the courtyard next to mine. I handled some business in the study. By dusk, his drug should have worn off. I set light porridge and side dishes. After bringing the food, Lucky returned with a long face. Master, I couldn't control him. I asked the guard team to tie him to the bed and feed him. As soon as we got food into him, he spat it out. I rubbed the ledger and thought. Just then the other Lucky returned from investigating Adrian's background. Master, it's clear now. Please take a look. Adrian was an orphan. His father had been conscripted and died on the battlefield. His mother remarried. He grew up on neighbors' charity, fed by one family after another. Liana found him while hunting in the outskirts. She wanted him for her mansion at once. He fled into the mountains. In rage, Liana threatened the old and weak in his village. He could not fight imperial power. To save the village, he followed her back. That was good news. People with weaknesses are easier to manage. Let's go see him. I stood and took the 2 Luckies to the next courtyard. As soon as I stepped into the room, I saw Adrian tied to a large purple sandalwood bed, gilded with gold thread. His clothes were messy. Strands of hair stood up from struggling, making that wild, roguish face look almost cute. When he saw me, his eyes turned guarded and hostile. I met the little wolf's stare, calm as ever. Lucky brought a stool. I sat at ease and waved for them both to wait outside. Say it. Why did you buy me? Adrian's voice was rough, as if full of sand. I snorted, poured myself tea, and said lightly, Relax, I'm not interested in your body. Years ago, while doing business, I heard of a bully in Lingshui village. fierce and moody, but he never oppressed his own people. When bandits came, he stood up and fought them off every time. I spoke as I watched him, recalling Lucky's report. Sure enough, his expression slowly eased. You grew up in the wilds, but you're kind, loyal. I can't bear to see a man like that be crushed in the princess's mansion. Besides, I am a merchant, young Master Fu. I don't make losing deals. He snorted. Then stop circling. What do you want? You are good by nature and brave in a fight. My family has large businesses. In times like these, there are many who covet what we have. If you stay, you'll guard the house of Wan. Outside, call yourself a guard of our house. You will have full freedom and dignity. If you have ambition and don't want to live under anyone's thumb, I'll hire teachers to train you in letters and arms. I will also arrange for your villagers so they can live in peace and not be used against you. I smiled. Of course, if you refuse, then I'll treat the 10,000 taels as the price of making a friend. You can go now. I'll give you travel money. If you rise someday, spare a thought for the Lin Wan family. He studied me, weighing my words. One reminder, I added. If you walk out now, I can guarantee Princess Liana will catch you again within 3 days. Until your wings are full, only I can protect you, young Master Fu. He stared at me. His lashes were long. Even with defeat and gloom on his face, his beauty did not dim. No wonder Liana favored him so long. Think it over, tell me tomorrow. I rose and left. The Luckies came in to untie him. His wrists were red, yet he did not seem to feel the pain, head bowed in thought. By noon the next day, Lucky reported that Adrian wanted to see me. I had him brought to the study. He stood in silence. I did not urge him. I agree, he said at last, voice hoarse. Please take care of the villagers. I smiled. Of course. Rest for a few days. Your teachers will arrive soon. The tutors I hired for Adrian were the same I had once arranged for Ethan. They taught in the daytime at the manor. Bored, I wandered to the schoolroom. Through the back window, I saw Adrian in white, sitting on a cushion with his back to me. I froze for a few seconds. Only Lucky's reminder brought me back. Even if the back looked similar, this was not Ethan. And I was no longer the Lin from the last life. Perhaps he wanted to change his fate too much. Adrian worked hard every day. His body was weak to begin with. Now he strained his mind and strength daily. I told the kitchen to prepare different nourishing dishes for him each day. Almost a month passed. From guarded and distrustful, he could now sit and speak with me calmly. I worried he would study himself dull, so I called him to the study. The weather is good today. Let's go out for a walk. Spring was in full swing. Everything was green. My carriage, with fragrant curtains, rolled through the busy streets of Chang'an. The opera house was performing loyalty to the nation. In my last life, Adrian became a general, so the theme suited him. We stepped down. There were bridges and streams. The opera house stood by a lotus lake. On the carved high stage, zithers rang and a tender voice sang. Below, nobles rowed painted boats among the lotus. Such a refined place was, of course, mine. I took Adrian to the top floor, the best view. Just then we ran into Princess Liana. She reclined on a fur couch, noble and lazy. Several lightly dressed young men poured wine for her. Ethan Pei, in a light white robe, sat before a guzheng. I stopped. Adrian followed my gaze. When he saw the scene, the light in his eyes turned cold as ice. Miss Lin rarely has time to listen to opera, Liana said, brushing aside the eager youth and pulling up a slipping sleeve. And even rarer to bring a handsome companion. I kept my face calm and avoided Ethan's wandering look. He was bored at home. I brought him out. Liana smiled. She glanced at the little wolf beside me. The smile did not reach her eyes. No one noticed Ethan's hand tremble on the strings when he heard me speak. Come pour for Miss Lin. Sitting beside Liana, I watched her point a slender finger at Ethan. He lowered his eyes and stood. New scars on his pale chest showed and hid as he walked. I looked for a moment, then looked away. What were his wounds to me now? He took up a white jade wine pot. My gaze rested on the pot. His hand shook. He lost hold. The lid rolled along the curve of the jade table and bumped against me. I said nothing. I took out a kerchief and blotted my damp robe. Liana's smile did not change, but her eyes darkened. Ethan, your mind seems messy these days. Kneel. Ethan knelt. Liana's white, fine fingers lifted his chin. With the other hand, she tilted the wine pot and poured it down. He choked. The corners of his eyes flushed. He coughed and endured. Wine ran down his mouth and soaked his thin robe. Under the table, Adrian's fist knotted, veins standing. He ground his teeth at the scene. I pressed his hand down, face unchanged. No one once loved Ethan more than I did, at least in the last life. Now I saw that what I thought was kindness had been meddling. Perhaps this cruelty was their shared pleasure. When the pot was empty, Ethan panted for breath. Feeling my gaze, he looked over. Our eyes met. His gaze dropped and saw our hands under the table. His eyes changed. Compared to his pain, he seemed to care more about the man at my side. Amused, Liana sent him to play. Ethan sat before the guzheng, expression blank. He lifted his hands and paused. Then he played my favorite piece from the last life, Autumn Night Thoughts. My breath hitched. The scene overlapped with the past. I had taught him that piece. Now I felt no sweetness, only disgust. My guess was confirmed. He had also been reborn. He played it on purpose. Was he testing me, to see if my behavior meant I had been reborn too? Do not blame me for suspicion. For a man who died for Liana in the last life, his change now was strange. A dark thought rose. After a few days of living like a dog in her mansion, had he remembered my goodness from before? At that thought, some rancor eased. Filth is filth. Even if I raise him high, his base remains mud. Liana looked at his profile and narrowed her eyes, leaning back. Among those in my garden, I like him best. He's dull, yes, but this face is the greatest beauty under heaven. I said mildly. I heard the Empress is selecting noble sons for you. He is only a plaything, unfit for the hall. Don't take him to heart, Your Highness. Ethan struck a wrong note. Liana laughed from her chest, proud and wild. Even if I take a consort, so what? Don't forget, this is the Lee family's realm. Exactly, I said. And Ethan is very capable. My royal brother, the crown prince, favors him. His birth is low, but keeping him by my side is no bad thing. My eyes flickered. A boy brought a new wine pot and filled my cup. I lifted it. The wine smelled rich. I narrowed my eyes. Liana looked at me with a bright smile. I smiled back and drank. Soon I pressed my forehead, as if dizzy. Liana's smile grew. I put on a guilty face. Your Highness, I can't hold my liquor. I fear I'll lose face before others. I'll take my leave. There is a room inside, she said, tone firm. Rest there. 2 boys came to help me. Anger rose in my chest, but I wore a shamefaced look. She told them to take good care of me. I shook off their hands, grabbed Adrian's wrist, and said, He will care for me. Thank you. Before Adrian could react, I dragged him into the inner room, slammed the door, and pushed him down on the bed. He stared up at me, mind blank, breathing in the clean scent that brushed his skin. He shivered, like a snowflake landing on the neck in winter. My hair was a little loose, my cheeks flushed, nothing like the cool, calculating Lin with a ledger in hand. He pushed at my shoulders, flustered. I pinned him harder. The face that should have been roguish was suddenly pure. His black eyes were wide. What are you doing, Lin? My hazy gaze cleared. Leaning over him, I whispered at his ear, Don't move. The wine was drugged. My lips brushed his ear by accident. His body stiffened. His breath stumbled. He didn't know where to put his hands. I didn't notice. I poured it into my sleeve. I saw this trick as a child, playing dirty on my turf. Is she? The little wolf was not heartless. Why would she drug you? He asked, brows drawn. She's always been headstrong, I said with a cold smile. Either because I bought you or because of Ethan. Feeling under the bed for a hidden panel, I asked, Can you make noise? Noise? Right? Have you seen a man and woman together? I don't need to teach you, do I? Make a sound first, let me hear it. He stared, dumbfounded. I urged him again. He reacted and gave a half-hearted, ah. I squinted. Was that a wild donkey? My fingers found a bump. With a click, a tunnel opened under the bed. I slipped inside, glanced back at his burning face and said, Keep it up, make it sound real. Don't let them doubt, I'll send someone in. Then I slid into the passage. He watched me vanish. After a long time, he looked toward the door, face red, and muttered a few curses. When his health improved, I had Adrian begin martial training. After 2 days, he fainted on the training ground. I was on a business trip and rushed home at once. Lucky had already called Physician Du. The reason was overwork. He had trained without rest, even with a fever. I looked at his paper-white face on the bed and sighed. Nothing serious. 2 days of medicine and the fever will break, Physician Du said. I nodded and sent Lucky to boil the decoction. I sat by the bed and wiped Adrian's sweat. As I wiped, I murmured, Don't you dare fall ill. I'm counting on you, for Prince Rowan, for Ethan Pei, and for the House of Juan to grow strong again." His brows twitched. I paused. Seeing he did not wake, I settled in to keep watch. After a night, Lucky said the manager of Jade Pavilion had come to call. I frowned. Jade Pavilion was run by the Empress's family. We had little business with them. What did he want? I asked them to seat the manager in the hall. I changed clothes and went out. When I saw the visitor, my face froze. It was no manager. It was Ethan Pei. "Juan," he breathed. My brows went cold. "You overstep, Master Pei. My name is Lin." "The others left us alone. You've come back too," he said, staring at me. He was certain. My different actions had told him enough. There was no point pretending. "Yes," I said flatly. "So what?" "Business is business. You came today as the manager of Jade Pavilion. What do you want? If you wish to reminisce, you'll have more to say to the princess." His face went white. I had never seen the brightest man in our realm look so wretched. I gave a cold laugh, enjoying the pain on his face now that the lie was torn open. "You saw them," he said hoarsely. 110 portraits. Such deep devotion it makes me sick." He flinched under my disgust and staggered back 2 steps. "I don't know what you're trying to do in this life with all this filth," I said. "But Liana will never allow another in your heart." "Lin," his eyes reddened, his voice broke with shame. "Don't call me that." My temples throbbed. I could not keep the polite mask. "People say I am a greedy merchant. Ethan Pei, you know how I treated you. Years of truth from me, only to be paid back with years of deceit." He faltered. The sharp tongue that could cut down 100 officials failed him. He could only repeat, "I'm sorry." I cut off his late apology. "The House of Juan has no business with Jade Pavilion. Master Pei, please leave." He stared at the hatred in my eyes. The clear lines of his face went ashen, like dead wood. Chapter 2. Back in my study, Lucky reported that Adrian Fu had woken up. I pushed open his door but did not see him. "Adrian Fu?" I called softly twice. No answer. Water splashed from the inner room. I lifted the curtain and glimpsed a young man in the steam. I retreated at once to the outer room. "Sorry," I said, awkward. He also froze, clearly not expecting me. Neither of us spoke for a long beat. "Finish your bath and come to the study," I said, and left the courtyard quickly. Our dynasty may be open-minded, but I am conservative at heart. Later, lamplight swayed behind the lattice windows. When Adrian came to see me, I tried to act natural. He pressed his lips into a thin line, trying to look serious, the tips of his ears still pink. "You were looking for me?" he asked, stealing a glance at me. I cleared my throat. "Success is not built in a day. A sound body comes first. I hope you understand." His gaze flickered. A low "If you're interested, once you've recovered, I'll take you to a military camp to have a look." The little wolf's eyes lit up at once. Adrian left the manor at noon and still had not returned by nightfall. My eyelids twitched. Something felt wrong. I sent Lucky to ask around. He came back with news. Adrian and a young woman were at a gambling house. A gambling house. Others might not know whose place that was, but I did. It belonged to Ray Wang. In my last life, before Princess Liana dragged Ethan Pei back to her mansion, Ray had been Ethan's classmate. I did not stop to think. I took Lucky, the other Lucky, and a squad of guards. We drove straight to the gambling house. On the way, Lucky told me what happened. Adrian had a childhood friend named Leah. Her brother was a hopeless gambler. He had failed to pay his debts, and the house had already broken one of his legs. To save his skin, the brother tried to sell Leah. Ray gave Leah one last chance to raise the money. She went to Adrian for help, but he had none, so all 3 were held. Ray then told his men to cripple Adrian. As we reached the door, shouts and the thud of blows rolled out. I lifted a brow and waved. My people swept in. The hall was a mess. Dozens of thugs lay groaning on the floor. Adrian stood in front of a tear-streaked but delicate Leah, a blood-smeared stool in his hand. Leah's gambler brother lay howling, one arm and one leg broken. Ray Wang lounged in a grand chair with one leg crossed over the other. 30 or so thugs stood behind him. Everyone turned when they heard us. Ray spat and looked me up and down. "Boss Lin, what wind blows you to my little shop?" I smiled lightly. "My man caused a disturbance in your business, Boss Ray. I've come to take him home." Ray snorted and pointed at Adrian. "Your man? You mean that hot-headed fool?" "He is," I said. Ray's gaze chilled. "And if I refuse to let him go, Lucky set a stool for me and draped a cloak over it. I sat, unhurried. You can try, I said. If you don't release him, proof of your tax evasion will be on a magistrate's desk tomorrow morning. I have friends in the Yamen. You might rot in prison. Because his dealings were vicious and he made dirty money, merchants in the capital called him Dog Wang. Ray's eyes bulged with rage. He glared at me. After a long, stifled breath, he turned a venomous look on Adrian. Kid, you're lucky today. Get out. Adrian hesitated. He glanced at Leah, who clung to his sleeve. I'm taking the girl too, I said coolly. Don't push it, Lynn. Her brother still owes me. If she leaves, who pays me back? I tossed a money pouch to the floor. Tell Ethan Pei I'll settle today's debt with him one by one. I rose and left. Our guards escorted Adrian and Leah out behind me. Back at the manor, Adrian stood still for a moment. He glanced at me and chose his words. Thank you, for today. I held down my anger, my face cold as frost. Let's settle your account. First offense, acting without a brain. Outside these gates you carry the Lin name. At the first problem, you lost your head. Reckless. No matter Ray Wang's goal, if I hadn't come, his power in Chang'an, the capital city, could have crippled you 10 times over. Second, neglecting your duty. You are a guard of the House of Wan. Put aside the 10,000 taels I paid. Count the salary and the investment I spend on you. Today you were on duty. You left without a word. Did I hire you to eat my food for free? Third, insubordination. Don't mistake kindness for equality. I am the master. You are the subordinate. I have every right to punish you as I see fit. After today's mess, I could have beaten you half to death and no one would blame me. Utterly foolish. Adrian bowed his head and took the scolding in silence, his fists clenched and loosened by his sides. He did not argue. Go to Lucky and receive your punishment, I said. He left. Only then did I let out a long breath. I did not believe for a moment that this had nothing to do with Ethan Pei. In my last life, nothing like this had happened. I just didn't know his aim. Cutting down a rival in advance or revenge because I bought Adrian. Either way, it didn't matter. He touched my people. He would pay. In the last life he deceived me for years. If he is heartless, I won't be kind. I wrote out the Crown Prince faction network from my past life, including Ethan's secret contacts, and had my shadow guards slip it into Prince Rowan's carriage. Since Adrian cared so much about Leah, I asked Lucky to sound her out. Would she abandon that beast of a brother? When she said yes, I had men throw the brother out of Chang'an and let him fend for himself. That afternoon, I lounged on a swing, reading the latest popular street novel in Chang'an. The Doctor of Poisons runs with the baby in her 108th life. I was grinding my teeth in glee, right at the scene where a jealous hero grabbed the heroine and kissed her. Suddenly, the light dimmed. I looked up. Adrian stood before me with a tray, uneasy and avoiding my eyes. I wiped the silly look off my face. What is it? Lucky said you like peach pastries. I made some today. He said they taste good. Would you try one? The little wolf had no idea how he was begging. He held out the tray with both hands, lips pressed tight, hope plain in his eyes. I picked up a pastry and glanced at him. He watched me, full of expectation. I smiled to myself. The man couldn't hide a thought to save his life. Fine. Give him a step down. I took a bite. Not bad, I said lightly. A small hidden smile tugged at his mouth. The hard lines of his brows softened. I want to apologize, he said. I was reckless yesterday. I didn't think it through. It won't happen again. And, thank you for Leah. I waved it off. You were worried about someone you care for. I helped because she's capable. Win-win, no need to thank me. Someone I care for? He froze. The smile died on his lips. I bit the pastry. Isn't Leah your sweetheart? She's not. Don't say that. He straightened at once, flustered. I took it as shyness. I kept reading, distracted. All right. She's not. I really don't like Leah. She's like a sister to me. Murmured to the book. Yes, sure. Classic Lin-style perfunctory replies. His expression shifted a few times. He watched me for a long while. I sank deeper into the world of princes and poison doctors. At last he sighed, picked up a palm fan, and fanned me gently. Leah later opened a wonton shop in the north of the city. I ran into it on a trip and she served me a bowl herself. Her color was good. Life must be easier now. She rubbed her hands, shy. Miss Lin, I never had the chance to thank you. After that mess, I feared you would blame Adrian, but you didn't. You even helped me open this shop. I'll never forget your kindness. Adrian is a good man, she added. When I was little, my grandma often brought him food. He still remembers our family's kindness. He treats me like— She paused, dimming. I stayed quiet and let her speak. Like family, she finished. Miss Lin, I can feel how much he cares about you. I'm only saying this so there won't be a rift between you because of me. She smiled. My thoughts tangled. All right, I said. I suddenly remembered the lantern festival. I had won a little pig lantern and joked that it suited him. He lifted his head then. Behind him were 1,000 lights like stars. He stared at me, dazed. He was strangely innocent in that moment. For days after, he avoided my eyes. When I looked away, he followed my every move without knowing it. So that was it. Spring passed into summer. Wild geese flew north, then south. Another year came, and with it the royal hunt. Adrian's basics were nearly solid. I took him along to see the world. After a day's ride, we reached the royal hunting grounds. By chance, I also saw Princess Liana and Ethan Pei. Liana reclined in a perfumed carriage, a new favorite at her side, servants trailing like immortals. Ethan rode in the last carriage. Since I had passed secret letters to Prince Rowan, the Crown Prince's faction had begun to weaken. Ethan must have offered some scheme and won Liana's favor. He was allowed to join the hunt. Without my hand in this life, his path had finally turned where it was meant to go. That wine is too strong. Drink less, Adrian said, bringing me warm water. Why are you so fussy now? I muttered. Physician Dew told you to drink less last time. If you don't listen, I'll complain to him. All right, nag. I turned and met Ethan's heavy stare. Who knew how long he had been looking? I schooled my face and looked away. Adrian glanced at him and let a cold smile curl his mouth. The Crown Prince proposed an archery contest. The prize was a luminous pearl from the Eastern Sea. In my last life, the champion had been the new Marshal Laureate. This time the lineup was different. Both Ethan and Adrian signed up. They were too striking to ignore. One cold as a winter pine, the other fierce as the sun. The stands buzzed with maidens sighing over Adrian. Ethan had 2 lives of memory. By reason he should win. I still let Adrian compete. It would temper his temper. He surprised me. With only a year of training, he was nearly pressing Ethan. The boy had grown into his frame. Muscles coiled under his robes, not bulky but not weak. Black hair, blue robe, arrows at his waist, ink-dark brows. A sharp, hungry gaze. The young general I remembered. Bright clothes, wild horse, seemed to ride out of the past. They were neck and neck with the laureate. The Crown Prince chuckled. The young are formidable. He raised the stakes. The final test, the 3 would stand facing each other, an apple set on each head. They would take turns shooting the apple. Life and death not counted. Anyone afraid could forfeit. Liana smiled, her eyes fixed on Adrian like a snake on prey. The laureate blanched and bowed out first. Such matches belong to the battlefield. I withdraw. Adrian gave a contemptuous smile and drew breath to speak. I stood and called, Adrian. Every head turned. I don't feel well, I said, wincing. Adrian. His face changed. He dropped his quiver, vaulted the rail with one hand and landed before me. He gripped my hand and searched my face. What's wrong? You were fine a moment ago. I'll fetch the imperial physician. He turned to the Crown Prince. Forgive me, Your Highness, I withdraw. Ethan watched me leave in silence. After a long moment, he lowered his bow. Back in the tent, the physician took my pulse. After a while, he said it was nothing serious. Rest would do. When he left, Adrian lowered his eyes and asked softly, You didn't want me to compete with him, did you? I was certain I could win. The pearl is beautiful. I wanted to make a set of jewelry for you. He looked so aggrieved that my words lodged in my throat. I am not a fool. After Leah's talk and a year of watching, I could feel his hidden feelings. But the last life left me no heart for love. And could Adrian tell whether what he felt for me was gratitude to a mentor or love? He had never been open, so I never had the opening to speak. Now I had to. I hardened my face. Thank you for the thought, I said. But don't bother, I have money. If I want it, I'll buy it myself. How is that the same? It would be from me. I leaned back on the bed. He crouched beside it, tilting up his handsome face like a devout believer. Hurt lay bare in his eyes. If you came to talk about so-called love, I said, you chose the wrong person. My time is limited. Each day my biggest problem is where to put it for the best return. Adrian, this is the first and last time I'll say this. Do not waste your energy on me. There are things more important than romance. Even if I were to like someone, it would be a man who can stand on his own. Not someone who clings to me. Otherwise, how are you different from the princess's playthings? I left him no hope. Chapter 3. Adrian said nothing for a long time. At last he lifted reddened eyes. Understood, master. He had barely left when an uninvited guest arrived. I looked coldly at Ethan Pei, who held the prize pearl. What is it, Master Pei? He actually seemed at a loss for words. That man who never showed emotion. He held out the pearl. I remember you loved luminous pearls in the last life. The last life? I laughed. My father gave me a chest of them for my 5th birthday. I liked that one because you gave it to me. And this one, you didn't win it cleanly. If the contest had finished, you would not have beaten Adrian. His voice turned hoarse and heavy. So what if I couldn't? As long as you still love me, it's enough. He grabbed my wrist and pulled me closer. I know you bought him to spite me. I'll do anything for your forgiveness. Don't do this. What makes you think I still love you? I yanked my arm. Nausea rose in my chest. The teachers you hired for him, the courtyard he lives in, they were mine last time. I snapped. So what if my motive was impure at first? Do you know why I bought Adrian this time? Because he is your counter. I will raise him as I raised you before. As long as you are miserable, I'll be happy. Most of all, he isn't as filthy as you. I twisted and fell back, hurting myself to break his grip. Anger roared in my head. I could not bear to share air with him. I yanked the tent flap open to leave, and ran straight into Adrian, a wine jug in hand, drunk air about him. My heart lurched. How long had he been there? How much had he heard? He looked at me calmly, as cold and distant as when we first met. I opened my mouth. No words came. I did feel a twinge of guilt. But so what if he heard? Whatever my motives, I truly had dragged him out of the mud. I lowered my eyes, cold again, and left that nest of trouble. Soon after, Princess Liana sent an invitation. She asked Adrian and me to a small gathering at her mansion. I frowned at the card. Since the hunt, Adrian had ignored me. When he saw me, he treated me like a stranger. Polite, businesslike. He was warmer to Lucky's dog than to me. Worse, I sensed Liana's interest in him had returned. She would do anything to get what she wanted. But the realm was at war, and the court needed money. My businesses were vast. To strike me was to shake the economy. At this moment, she would not push me too far. Adrian, however, might run into danger. After thinking it through, I invited General Lee to a tavern. It was time to set Adrian on his path. Then I called Adrian to the study. His face was calm, his eyes colder than ever. His look alone made my temper rise. You'll leave for the army at the end of the month, I said. He curled his mouth. And then? Like that farce of a last life? Help you fight Ethan Pei? A vein jumped in my forehead. Save the sarcasm. Even if you refuse, I won't blame you. What is Ethan in the Crown Prince's camp? Every faction needs money. If I want him ruined, it's easy. What I fear is you falling back into Princess Liana's hands. Do you understand? He stayed silent. My heart cooled further. A wolf is a wolf. 3 years and still not tamed. Go, I said. I'll give you travel money. Do what you like. Take whatever road you want. After this, the Lin family has nothing to do with you. Out. I don't want to see you. I opened a ledger and stopped looking at him. He stood there a long time. At last he rasped, I'll go. Take it as repaying your kindness. He left the study. I rubbed my brow, drained. I didn't see him off. Lucky later told me Adrian had kept looking toward the door. I thought he was exaggerating. 3 years passed in a blink. With my support in this life, Adrian grew even faster than last time. Ethan Pei, on the other hand, struggled under the Crown Prince. Liana's interest in him seemed to fade. While tripping Ethan, I also reached out to Prince Rowan. I said only, this humble merchant wishes to aid the founding of your reign. In my last life, he had won the struggle for the throne, so I had no qualms. After meeting him, I couldn't say he would be a sage king, but he would be a kind one. Recently, I planned to travel south with Leah to bring specialty snacks back to my restaurants. On the road, bandits blocked our path. There were about 10 of them, ugly faces, vicious eyes. Our guards and Lucky formed a circle around Leah and me. Their leader, a pockmarked fat man, ogled us. Leah stepped in front of me. Ladies, he chuckled. Tell your little lackeys to move, hand over your valuables, and you'll suffer less. His men laughed, harsh and filthy, like bald pigeons. One whistled. "Boss, can we share one of the girls? Haven't tasted meat in days." The fat man laughed too. Before he could finish, a single arrow screamed through the air and pierced his brow. He fell with his grin frozen on his face. The bandits panicked and scattered. Lucky looked around, and then saw them. Behind us, 3 men on tall horses. They looked like gods come down. The archer in front had a high nose and thin lips. His eyelids were narrow, his lowered lashes dark and severe. In the cold wind, his war robe rippled. His features were so sharp they were hard to describe. Lucky stared and then shouted, eyes wide, "Adrian!" At the inn we rested, then went downstairs to order a few dishes. Lucky ran to invite Adrian and his 2 lieutenants. 3 years had passed. Lucky chattered at him without pause. I kept my eyes on Leah and made small talk. Seeing Adrian again, I felt more uneasy than glad. To my surprise, Adrian sat right beside me. My heart stumbled. Leah spoke. I nodded on the surface, but my thoughts were dragged toward him. He was taller now, darker, his edges keen, no longer a boy who pouted. Every move carried a leader's pressure. I kept a merchant's composure and ate as if nothing was wrong. "So you're Miss Lin, an honor," said one of his men, Jack Zhang, grinning at me. My chopsticks paused. Adrian's face did not change. "Eat," he told Zhang flat. Lucky asked, "Why are you here? Such a coincidence." Zhang laughed. "We heard from the yamen that Miss Lin was passing through. Our boss wanted a look, so we followed." Adrian's cool gaze cut over. Zhang's neck shrank. He buried himself in his bowl. Leah smiled and traded a glance with Lucky. I ate 2 more bites, put down my chopsticks and went upstairs. Moonlight poured like silk. It was past midnight. I could not sleep. I threw on a coat and headed for the small pavilion in the back. There, looking up at the moon, stood Adrian. I stopped. He turned at the sound. Our eyes met in midair. This time I did not look away. 13. I almost died at 3 Ox Bay. The terrain there is treacherous. We were ambushed. In the end, Jack Zhang dragged me out with his own blood, Adrian Fu said. We sat on a stone bench. I looked at his hard profile while he spoke of the 3 years in the northern frontier with a calm face. "I wrote you more than 200 letters, he went on, turning to me. His eyes were like a deep spring under the moon. I never sent a single one. When I first arrived in the north, I was angry with you and with myself. But when I was about to die at 3 Ox Bay, I had only one thought. If I could see you one more time. All my resentment vanished in that moment. I only wanted to live, to see you again." My chest tightened. I lowered my head so he would not see my expression. "That single thought pulled me back from death, again and again," he said. "This year we were called back. Prince Rowan recommended me as general of the northern frontier. The plaything of Princess Liana has become a thorn in the crown prince's eye. Factions in court, grinding in the ranks. They call me a young general, brave and clever, famous in the capital. They say women and fame are within my reach." He paused and gave a dry, self-mocking laugh. "I don't want any of that. I only want to ask you one question. Am I a man who can stand on his own now?" "Lin," he said softly, "I've liked you for a very, very long time." His voice floated, as if he feared scaring me. Moonlight washed his face, deep and gentle. After we returned to Chang'an, Adrian moved into his own general's residence. Ethan Pei did not have the same power as before. Aside from trying to hold Adrian down, he could not strike Prince Rowan's faction at all. Without the network and resources I had given him in the last life, he could not repeat his past glory. Then I was kidnapped. It happened on a street in Chang'an, even with guards at my side. Leah took a blow to her arm trying to shield me. I thought Princess Liana or the Crown Prince's people had done it. I was wrong. It was Ethan Pei. The shadow guards Adrian had placed around me were cut down almost to the last. I sat tied on a bed, blindfolded. Ethan's long fingers lifted the silk from my eyes as if it were a treasure. I kept my eyes closed for a moment, letting the light stab and fade. When I finally looked at him, he was smiling, eyes hot with a strange obsession. "So," I said coldly, "you brought me here to avenge your princess?" Not long ago, envoys from the western regions came to court, first for diplomacy, second to discuss a marriage between Princess Liana and a western prince. Her infamy had reached them, but the alliance mattered. They could not refuse lightly. I gave them a push. While the emperor and the crown prince toured the imperial garden with the envoys, we happened upon Liana abusing the unloved 17th prince. With that scene, the Western envoys had the perfect reason to break the match, and I repaid her for drugging me in the past, without lowering myself to drug anyone now. The emperor lost face badly. The people complained. Memorials piled up. The loyal Grand Chancellor remonstrated unto death. Liana was confined to her mansion with no release date. I had enough pieces in the palace already. There were many ways to make her fall. I chose not to copy her methods. Ethan gave a bitter smile. Lynn, doesn't this place look familiar? I glanced around. The bed, the screen, every piece of decor. It was our room from the last life, recreated. I spent 3 years rebuilding the Lynn residence from our last life, he said. From now on, this will be our home. The stubborn light in his eyes made my skin crawl. You spent 3 years on this? Ethan, I said, I have no home with you. Wake up. He lowered his lashes and smiled, saint and demon mixed in one bend of the mouth. Then who is your home? Adrian Fu? You're waiting for him to come save you. The glowing powder you pricked on your sleeves, your shadow guards, I've taken care of all of it. No one will find this place. You're insane. Ethan reached to touch my face. I jerked away. His eyes dimmed. He forced himself to smooth a wrinkle in my robe. Call me mad or shameless, I don't care, he said softly. If this keeps you by my side, then breaking and remaking is a perfect plan. Do you know, Lynn? This is our third life. A celestial told me in a dream, this is our last. He seemed to sink into his own world, talking through me to a phantom. The first life was the one where I killed myself, he said. In that life, Princess Liana shattered all my pride and bone. When you were good to me, memory stabbed me. When I felt happiness, shame and rage doubled. Even after you bought me out, I was still a plaything, Ethan Pei. I had to love her, or I was no longer the pure man I once imagined. I'm sorry, Lynn. I didn't say a proper goodbye in that life. In the second, I was reborn before our engagement. I decided not to drag you down and refused the match. You said nothing and accepted it. I felt oddly lost. Later, Liana fixed on me again. You can guess the end, just a plaything with no place at court. You got engaged to Yang. I accompanied Liana to your banquet. You were even more dazzling without me. Seeing Yang at your side, I wanted to kill him on the spot. You were always meant to be mine, he whispered. In the second life, the celestial made me see my own heart, so I killed myself and opened the third. He smiled. I thought I saw a tear. This time we should be happy. We should be. Perhaps the point of this life, I said coolly, is for that celestial to show me what you are, so I won't repeat my mistakes. Good thing it's the last. What sin did I commit to play 3 lives with you? Let me go, Ethan. This is your last chance. He lifted those reddened, cold eyes. Only if I die. If I remove Adrian Fu, you'll stay here with me, won't you? He looked ready to fight the world. I smiled. If you kill him at the 3rd watch, I'll follow him by the 5th. You know me. I keep my word. 3 days passed. I did not eat. Ethan threatened the lives of everyone in my house. Only then did I learn how far a man like him could fall. I'll be dead, I told him with a laugh. Why should I care what comes after? I owe the Lin household in this life. I'll beg their forgiveness in the underworld. I kept fasting. I gambled on his heart, blinking first. On the 5th day he dragged Physician Du to me. Because of that slip, Adrian Fu tracked him down. When Adrian found me, his face was winter stone. He lifted me into the carriage. I tugged his sleeve. He rubbed my head. Rest. I know what I'm doing. He turned and walked back to Ethan. Outside, fists thudded into flesh. I took out the peach pastries Adrian always prepared for me. Before the carriage reached home, Lucky was already waiting at the side gate. Hearing the wheels, he ran out. Lucky grabbed him. Steady, they're not back yet. Lucky punched the other Lucky on the head. To hell with Steady. Brother, you hit me again. Without Ethan's help, the Crown Prince's faction collapsed fast. Prince Rowan moved like a blade. On the day the old emperor died from his elixirs, Rowan led troops to surround the Crown Prince and his allies, tore up the edict naming the Crown Prince as heir, and took power. Afterward, the Crown Prince and the Empress were locked in the Imperial Mausoleum. Only then did I hear from Adrian that Rowan's mother concubine had been killed by the Empress. Since the scandal with the Western envoys, Princess Liana had not left her mansion. She knew nothing of the final struggle. Rowan decreed that the princess's playthings could choose to stay or go as they wished. When I was strong again, I had Ethan Pei thrown into the princess's mansion. Liana no longer had the glory of a princess. Her body was covered in scars left by the men of her own harem taking revenge. Hair loose, face pale, eyes full of gloom, she still tried to act like a princess when she saw me. She swept her arm and knocked the dishes to the floor, making the old nurse jump. "I am Princess Liana," she screamed. "Lin Wan, I will kill you all." I glanced at Ethan, held by shadow guards, and said, "Perhaps the 3 lives you spoke of are complete now. In this one, you two finally belong to each other." "Oh, and I still owe you for Leah's injury." The guard Adrian left to me stepped in. I drew his sword. A heartbeat later, blood poured down Ethan's arm. His lashes were clumped with red. Warm blood cooled quickly, dripped to the floor, and congealed into dark stains. He gasped, "Lin," struggling against the guards, reaching for the hem of my skirt with trembling fingers. Red cracks opened like a silent net. I stepped back, face calm, and turned away from both of them. By the time I left the princess's mansion, the sky in the east was just paling. A few faint stars still hung there. The air bit like ice. The wind stung my cheeks, my breath frosted at once. The Lin carriage waited outside. Adrian Fu stood straight beside it. "Leah and Lucky have a full table ready at the tavern," he said. "Your favorite Hunan dishes." I took his warm hand and smiled. "Come on. Let's go home."